Hello everyone, and welcome to today's presentation. I'm excited to share with you insights from Jim Scrivener's classroom management techniques. Our focus today will be on the key teacher intervention strategy of questioning. We'll explore how effective questioning can help manage and enhance classroom engagement. So, let's dive in and discover practical ways to apply these techniques in your teaching practice. Used poorly, questions can actually have a negative effect. They can puzzle students and even demotivate them. But when used well, questions become powerful tools. They inspire students and motivate them to think deeper. The key idea here is that questions are actually the main engines of classroom progress. They drive learning forward by encouraging curiosity and critical thinking. So, the way we use questions really determines whether they hold us back or propel us ahead. Remember, effective questioning can turn a passive lesson into an active, engaging experience for students. Let's talk about the idea of fixed answers versus open responses. When I say there is no single fixed answer, I mean that many questions, especially in complex topics or real-world situations, invite a variety of opinions and longer responses. It's important to recognize that not everything can be answered with a simple yes or no, or true or false. These are what we call closed questions. They often seek straightforward, factual answers. On the other hand, open questions encourage discussion, exploration, and deeper thinking. This distinction is crucial because it influences how we gather information, analyze problems, and engage with others. When we understand whether a question is open or closed, we can tailor our approach accordingly, whether we're conducting research, leading a discussion, or making decisions. Throughout this presentation, I want you to keep in mind how this distinction plays into our overall theme: effective communication and critical thinking. Recognizing when to ask open versus closed questions can help us gather richer insights and foster more meaningful conversations. Let's explore how miscommunication can lead to breakdowns. Now, here's a common confusion. Students often mistake check questions for real questions. These are also called display or test questions. The key point here is that we already know the answer to these questions because they are designed to check understanding, not to gather new information. When we ask a check question, our goal is to confirm if the student truly understands the material. It's a way of testing comprehension, not seeking new details. On the other hand, real questions are different. These are genuine inquiries where we genuinely want to know the message or information, things like what happened, or can you explain that further? Understanding this distinction is crucial because it helps us communicate more effectively. When we mistake a check question for a real one, we might get confused or frustrated, thinking we're missing information when, in fact, we're just confirming understanding. So always remember, check questions are about testing, real questions are about learning new things. Recognizing this difference is key to avoiding communication breakdowns and ensuring a clear, effective exchange of information. Now let's look at the example on the slide. First, we ask, can we play? The answer is no. Then we check if it's very wet by asking, is it very wet? The answer is yes. Next, we ask, is it wet? And again, the answer is yes. From this, we see that because it is wet and very wet, it's too wet to play football. This example shows how we break down a sentence using simple questions. We focus on whether it's wet or very wet, and then decide if we can play. Remember, using these small, clear questions helps us understand and explain the situation step by step. This is a useful strategy to understand more complex ideas in a simple way. All right, let's talk about a pro tip that can really improve your communication. Simplify your language. When we reword things, it might seem helpful, but it can actually make your message more complicated. Sometimes, it's better to just repeat yourself a bit slower and clearer. Now, let's look at the rewording trap. This is when questions are hidden inside other questions, making them harder to understand. It's like trying to unpack a box with layers of questions inside. It can get confusing quickly. Embedded questions are tricky because they can hide the real point you're trying to ask or answer. So, the key takeaway is to be aware of these pitfalls. Keep your questions straightforward and avoid nesting questions within questions. This helps your audience stay engaged and makes your message clearer. Remember, simplicity and clarity are essential, especially when you're trying to connect with your listeners and keep them on the same page. Let's talk about how to keep the energy high and make sure every student stays engaged and ready to participate. The key is to mix these different techniques throughout your lesson or activity. First, you can use strategic variety by moving in order around the room. This helps keep students attentive because they never quite know who will be called on next. You can also incorporate sequences, such as drawing names out of a bag or making random picks. This adds an element of surprise and fairness, encouraging participation from everyone. Then, there's the category approach, asking for boys only, students whose names start with or other specific groups. This can target different groups and add some fun challenges. Another technique involves location, asking students from specific sections of the room. Or, you might nominate students by name or gesture, which personalizes the interaction and keeps students alert. Finally, consider whole class strategies like choral answers or inviting open volunteers. This broad approach encourages collective participation and can energize the entire class. The main idea is to ask, "Who should I ask next?" and intentionally vary your methods. By mixing these techniques, you create a dynamic environment where students stay engaged and eager to participate, which ultimately supports a more effective and lively learning experience. This slide highlights a crucial point about how we engage with each other during discussions or classroom interactions. When I say, "This forces the whole class to think because anyone could be next," I mean that by posing a question and then pausing, we're creating a moment where everyone feels the pressure and the opportunity to contribute. It keeps everyone alert and encourages participation. Next, we see question right arrow pause right arrow name. This technique involves asking a question, then pausing to give students time to think, and finally calling on a specific individual. This method makes students stay attentive because they never know when they might be called upon, and it makes them think more deeply about the subject. Now let's look at the right way. Here, we start with the student's name, like name, and then follow up with a question. The key is that everyone else then switches off, meaning they focus on the person answering, not on competing or interrupting. This promotes respectful listening and makes the individual feel valued, which encourages more meaningful participation. In contrast, the wrong way involves asking a question, then pausing without directing it to anyone specifically, which can lead to confusion or discomfort. It may also cause students to tune out or become passive because they don't feel directly involved. So the main takeaway here is that the way we structure our questions and responses can significantly influence how engaged and thoughtful our class is. Using the right way fosters a respectful, attentive environment, while the wrong way can diminish participation and focus. This ties into our broader theme of creating effective and inclusive discussion strategies. Let's talk about a common misconception in assessment. Often, we focus on getting the right answer quickly, but that's not enough. It's important to look for evidence of learning across the entire class, not just from the students who answer fastest. Right answers can sometimes hide the fact that other students are actually lost or not fully understanding the material. So, instead of just chasing the correct answer, we should be paying attention to whether students are truly learning and making progress. Remember, learning is the goal, and that means we need to see evidence of understanding from everyone, not just the quick or confident students. All right, let's talk about everyone. A key insight here is that effective questioning isn't just about what you ask, but also about how you manage the flow of the discussion. It's important to keep the pace steady enough to include everyone. When you have stronger students, don't just move on quickly. Instead, give them a chance to explain or prepare the next step. This keeps them engaged and reinforces their understanding. Now, it's crucial to actively engage all students. We want to avoid rushing at the pace of the fastest or strongest students, because that can leave others behind. Instead, aim to keep the whole class moving forward together. And that brings us to the idea of not rushing the pace. Managing the speed of your questioning and discussion helps ensure everyone stays involved. Remember, the goal is to maintain a balanced, inclusive classroom where all students are growing at a pace that works for everyone. Reflection is the first step toward progress. So, let's think about this for a moment. When we talk about reflection, it's really about pausing and evaluating our actions and choices. There are 3 key areas to consider here. First, is it how you deal with the responses? Are you handling feedback or reactions in a way that promotes growth and understanding? Second, is it who you choose to nominate? Are you selecting the right people who can truly contribute and make a difference? And third, is it the types of questions you ask? Are your questions open-ended and thought-provoking, encouraging deeper thinking? All of these points connect back to the overall theme of growth and continuous improvement. Remember, reflection isn't just about looking back. It's about learning and adjusting so we can move forward more effectively. So, I encourage you to regularly pause and ask yourself these questions. It's the first step toward making meaningful progress. All right, as we come to the final slide, I want to leave you with a powerful message. Transform your questions into engines for progress. Think of questions not just as queries, but as tools that can propel your teaching and your students' learning forward. To make this work, get creative with nominations. Use fun and engaging ways to involve everyone in the room. Remember, engage is key. When students look puzzled, don't shy away from reducing complexity. Simplify your explanations to ensure clarity. It's also crucial to master the simple but effective sequence: question, pause, nominate. This helps maintain control and keeps the conversation focused. Practice this regularly, and don't forget to track your most common question types and see how they impact the lesson. This will help you identify patterns and areas for improvement. Ultimately, the goal is action. Using these insights to continually refine your approach and foster an environment where questions become catalysts for growth and discovery.